Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. So in our video today, we're going to answer one question, which is how to pull a creamy shot of espresso. So to answer this question, you need to understand that espresso is a very complicated drink because it requires you to have specific input in order to get the output that you desire, which is a creamy shot or even a syrupy shot or whatever shot you're looking for, okay? So we will look at the aspects of making a creamy shot of espresso in this video together. The first aspect is that you need to have fresh beans. That's the most crucial thing you need to be aware of. To get good coffee, you need to have good beans. So there is a big difference between roasting or getting a roasted coffee that is freshly roasted, maybe like 2-3 weeks old only, versus getting a coffee that is roasted like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 months old. Because if you get a coffee that's very old, this is probably gonna be a very degassed coffee. Degassed coffee means what? Means that while roasting the coffee, usually there are some CO2 that will be retained inside the beans. So when the CO2 is retained inside the beans, it will help produce that kind of a crema and the creamy look that you see when you make your coffee. On the other hand, when these beans rest for so long time, they will just look like good roasted beans, but when you extract them, they'll give you watery shot more than creamy shot, because they will lose the aspect that you look for, which is the crema, okay? That makes your shot of espresso looks nice, even though people are arguing that crema doesn't add anything to the espresso, it doesn't increase the taste, or it doesn't give any like good appealing to the taste in your mouth, aside from how it looks in the cup, okay? On the other hand, looking at another type of bean that is just roasted, these beans, for example, roasted on 7th of August, that is only like less than a month ago, we can say 4 weeks old. The bag smells very nice and the beans are also looking so fresh, and these are freshly roasted beans. We can say that these are freshly roasted beans. I usually roast my own beans, and these beans are Guatemala beans, okay? Natural beans. So from looking at the beans, you cannot say that these are fresh or no, but when you try to extract the beans, you will see how the coffee looks like when it comes out of the portafilter, okay? If it's creamy, if it looks like there is some gases retained in it, the shot will look nice when it goes into the cup, and then you will feel that there's a good layer of cream on the top. But on the other hand, if the coffee looks so flat on the cup and there is very thin layer of crema, this comes to one of the assumptions that the coffee beans might be aged, which is number one, or that the grind settings are not fine enough. Okay, that's another aspect that we need to look at in our video today. So the second aspect, aside from the beans, is that the grinder you're using might not be calibrated enough, or it might not be fine enough when you grind for your beans. So there comes the aspect of, while pulling the shot, you need to make sure that you use the right time for the shot. Based on what you see on the scale and the timer, you can judge whether your shot needs to be finer or no. What I mean here is that when you pull a shot of espresso, usually espresso shots will be falling from anywhere between 25 or like 20 to 30 seconds. Some people say 25 to 30 seconds, but I'm talking about 20 something seconds, okay? But if the shot is coming out all the amount you need in the cup in like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, this might be a very fast shot and requires you to grind finer, okay? That's a very famous term that we always hear and we always see in the comments when people are asking why my shots are not looking nice or why my shots are so fast. People are usually answering with one sentence, grind finer, and that's it, okay? So you need to always remember that you might need to grind finer using the grinder you're using in order to pull the right shot in the right time, okay? The third element is the machine, okay? So when you make the right shot and the right grind settings and use the right machine, or the machine that you're having but that it's set exactly to the right bar and the right temperature, this will help you a lot to produce the result that you're aiming for, okay? So in our video today, I'm going to try to use any of these grinders, and I will try to pull a shot with it using an old bean versus a freshly roasted bean. That's number one. Number two, I will try to mess up with the grind settings, because people would say that you need to dial in your grinder. And dialing in the grinder would mean that you need to find the right spot or the right grind settings based on the bean you're using. Means that there is nothing called you have to grind on specific bean size or specific like grind settings like number 20 or number 10 or number 25 or whatever. There's nothing called you need to grind on a specific number. It depends on all the beans you're using. Maybe I'm using 3 or 4 different beans. This means that each of them will require me to find the right settings for that particular bean. Based on what? Based on the density of the bean, based on the size of the bean, and so on. So in our example today, I will give you an example of this bean. For example, this is a bean that we mentioned. It is from Guatemala, okay? That's the size of the bean. It looks like that, okay? On the other hand, these are the old beans we're talking about, and these look like a bigger sized beans, and they are also from Guatemala. But as you can see, the difference is so obvious that this bean is not like the other one. And it's very obvious to everyone who can see that this bean is big and that one is very small, okay? So comparing two beans like that, maybe one of them has even darker color like this one. This is a commercial bean, that's why it's a little bit dark. They usually roast the commercial beans as like medium dark roast versus the other one that's specialty grade, that's roasted as at only like medium roast, okay? So you can see that the difference here, this is lighter than this one, okay? And also the roast like level will also require you to change the grind settings. So roast level will require you to change the grind settings as well as the bean size, as well as the bean density. So in the end, there is not a lot of math that you need to do. All you need to do is to find any of the grinders. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna use a grinder like Niche Zero, okay? Because it's a very famous one. Let's focus with Niche Zero. So focusing on the Niche Zero, for example, I will weigh 18 grams of the commercial beans first, okay? I'll add 18 grams and then I will grind them on the grinder. I'm not sure what grind size should I go for because, as I told you, I need to find out what is gonna be the best grind settings based on the bean I'm using, okay? So right now, these are 18.1 grams. I'll add a sprit of water to them, like that. Give them a shake. And then I'll turn on the grinder and add the beans, okay? So right now, I see that the grinder is set to 30 steps. Is that the right settings for these beans? I'm not sure. Should I go finer? Should I go coarser? It doesn't seem to be a good idea to look at that before trying, okay? So I'll assume that 30 is like as it is set, might be a good settings for these beans, okay? So I'm still dialing in the bean as well. So I'll turn on the grinder and I'll wait until the beans are ground. That's it. So I got my beans ground at 30 steps on the Niche Zero. Is that a good enough to make a good shot? I will see. I'll figure it out together now. So all I'm going to do is I'll quickly prep the puck and then I will pull the shot and show you how it looks like. I believe that it might need to go finer for sure, but as a user who doesn't really know whether this is a good grind settings or no, I will have to try. You will need to dial in each bean you use. Maybe you will take a couple of shots to find the right grind settings for these beans, okay? So I'm assuming that I'm fixing all the other variables like, you know, the tamping and the distribution, because even that is also a big deal, because if you mess with tamping, you might add one more factor to the equation that you need to take care of. But in my case, I'm using a very fixed and stable tamper, which is the force tamper, as well as the Duomo V8 for puck coffee distribution. So let's quickly pull the shot and see how this is going to look like. And then based on that, we will decide whether we need to go finer or coarser. So you'll use a timer for the shot, timing for sure. And you will go on. As you can see, it looks so fast. So fast. No crema at all. With the 36 grams in around 19 seconds or less. And the shot looks very watery. As you can see, no crema at all on the top. Looks like a bad shot. So I need to go finer. So weighing 18 more grams. And this time we will need to go finer. So let's say the grinder was set to 30 steps. I think we need to go something like maybe 20 and see from there whether I need to go a little bit coarser, like towards 25, or should I make it as a 22, or like going even finer or coarser. Let's see that together. Right now it's set to 20. I'm setting it to 20. Maybe I'll make it like 22, maybe, and see. Maybe 10 steps is so much to go as a change from 30 to 20 directly. But because the shot was so fast, I wanted to go towards the finer side and tweak from there, better than going or keeping on going coarse. Okay. So that's the coffee. Looks really finer. By my eye, I can see that it's finer. And we'll do the same quick puck prep using the same two tools, the Womo D8 for puck WDT, like that, and then force tamper for tamping. The same puck screen. Let's see how the shot will look like this time. At 22 steps, using the same grinder. That's what we call dialing in the bean, by keeping on tweaking the grind settings until you reach the right shot that you aim for in the right time. So visually looks slower. Yeah, it is slower for sure. Maybe we're lucky enough to just catch it from the second shot. Maybe I'm understanding how my grinders are and how they are performing. That's why it was easy for me to do it. So I got the second shot in like 35 seconds. Maybe I can go one notch coarser. But as you can see, the shot is way different. Looks more creamy. It has a good crema layer on the top. And there is no comparison between this one and that one. As you can see, the difference is very visible to everyone. The taste also will tell a lot. So if you taste a coffee, you can tell whether it really tastes good or not. As you can see here, the shot that looks creamy looks better than the other one that looks very watery. That will reflect on both the taste and the TDS as well. So taste-wise, aside from that this is a commercial coffee and it doesn't taste nice on my tongue, this is so light taste. Whether that one, has more body on my tongue. I feel that it has more body, and that reflects higher TDS for sure, since the water took longer time while extracting the coffee. Now moving to the other one, which is the fresher roasted coffee. So weighing another 18 grams of that freshly roasted coffee, that's like a medium light roast from Guatemala, natural processing, home roasted on the Skywalker roaster. You can tell whether there will be any differences in the way the coffee looks like or no. And definitely the taste is up to everyone. Maybe a coffee that I will like, maybe it will not be suiting the taste of someone else. But here comes the challenge, because That's a new type of beans. I never tried these beans before. Not sure whether it will be good on the 22 or no, but I believe that I will just leave it as is and try and see from there whether I need to go finer or coarser, okay? Because it will be a little bit challenging for a user to keep on switching between the steps without understanding what bean he's using and which settings he's aiming for. So right now, a couple of taps on the niche zero, and then the coffee is ground. As you can see, the color is very light comparing to the previous grinding. Let's see how this is gonna pull. So doing the same exact puck prep, starting with the Duomo D8. And then following by the forced tamper. Here we go. And then we will be using the same puck screen and the same cup. Everything's just the same, even the flow control. Everything looks exactly the same, but let's see how the coffee will look like when it extracts. First of all, the shot looks so much creamier and slower. That requires me maybe to go coarser. Yeah, I will go coarser for sure in the next one. Or some other users would love to have a shot that looks like that, and they would accept the taste of the shot even if it is a little bit slower, because it might be still within the good range for some users. That includes me, by the way. I usually pull shots that go up to 50 seconds without any issues. But as you can see, that's just 1 month old coffee. Can you see how creamy it looks? This bag was roasted on, I believe I mentioned that it's 7th of August. 7th of August, and this is how it looks like when it is dialed in properly. Can you see that? Can you see the creamy look on the top and the tiger dots on the top? Looks so good. Looks so good, and I'm sure it will taste good. I'll try that. Wow. So that's the nice taste that I look for always when I make my coffee. I usually look for acidity more than bitterness, and I usually go for beans that give me some fruity taste, some good notes of fruits and acidity of the fruits, rather than just the chocolate and nuts that some other users would be preferring. So for me, that's the cup that I would always look for. Maybe when I look at the grinder, I would just maybe tweak it one more notch coarser. Just like that, from 22 to 23. That would be enough for me to make a good cup of coffee in the next one that might go a little bit lesser than in time than 45 seconds, and it will give me the taste that I even prefer more. So that was the other way around when you use a fresher bean. It will give you more creamy shot, it will give you maybe nicer taste depending on the beans you're using, and also the grinder you're using and the grind settings you're going for. So remember that achieving a good cup of coffee requires you to have your own taste. That's number one, because maybe some of you will not like this cup like I do, because it depends on the taste for every one of you. Maybe you would like to have a coffee that is not extracted in 40 seconds and you would prefer it only in 20 seconds. Maybe some other users would appreciate a coffee that takes longer extraction, and this would give them the taste, the complexity that they achieve when they have a good cup of coffee. Okay, so that was my video for today. And I hope it was adding some value to you, some useful information to you that you can like benefit from and make a better cup of coffee. And as usual, I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video and share it to your friends. Maybe this will help my channel to grow more and reach more people. This would definitely encourage me to post more content on it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all in the next one.